What if 50 days of hard work can move you 12 months ahead? Yes, just 50 days. Can you imagine what you can do in 50 days? Think about it. How much can change in less than 2 months? Welcome to Read and Learn English. This video is not just for reading or listening practice. It is more than that. It is a story. A story about hard work. A story about focus. A story about change. You will hear simple sentences. You will repeat key phrases. You will improve your English step by step. But you will also learn something important. You will learn how 50 days can change your life. Many people feel stuck. They wait for the right time. But the right time is now. The only way to grow is to start today, with a clear goal, with strong focus. This story shows how one person works hard for 50 days. He faces struggles and keeps going. He learns discipline. He builds new habits. And in just 50 days, he moves 12 months ahead. You will get better at English. You will hear words slowly and clearly. You will learn new vocabulary. You will practice speaking with me. And you will feel motivated to take action. Are you ready to change your life? Are you ready to improve your English? Then listen closely. Repeat after me. And let's start this journey together. Chapter 1. The Wake-Up Call. It was a quiet Sunday evening. The sky outside was soft and gray. City lights blinked in the distance. Inside his small room, the world felt heavy. He sat on the edge of his bed, looking down at the floor. His phone buzzed beside him. Another message, another post, another person showing their perfect life. But he didn't open it this time. Not tonight. Tonight, he was tired. Not just physically tired, but tired in his heart. He was tired of scrolling all day. Tired of watching others win while he stayed in the same place. Tired of wasting time and lying to himself with promises like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "next week I'll be better." The truth was, he had been saying those same words for years. He was 23 now. Not a child anymore. Not a teenager full of excuses. And yet, his days all felt the same. Wake up late, check his phone, do a little work, maybe, and then go to bed feeling guilty, empty, and behind. He used to dream big. When he was younger, he believed he could do anything. He had ideas, passion, and hope. But somewhere along the way, he lost them. They didn't disappear all at once. They faded slowly, hidden under habits that drained his energy. He spent hours comparing himself to others. People he went to school with were starting businesses, building bodies, learning skills, traveling, and doing something. He felt stuck, like a car with a full tank, but no driver. He looked around his room. It was messy. Papers, books, a half-filled journal, plans he never finished. Everything around him was a reminder of who he could have been. He sat in silence for a while. No music, no talking, just silence. For the first time in a long time, he listened to himself. No phone, no noise, no distraction, just his own thoughts. And one thought hit him hard. You're wasting your life. It wasn't a loud voice. It wasn't dramatic, but it was honest. And it hurt, because deep down, he knew it was true. He had time. He had tools. He had access to the internet, books, videos, mentors, and even support. But he lacked one thing: commitment. He had been waiting for motivation to appear, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for someone to push him. But now he realized something powerful. No one was coming to save him. If he wanted change, he had to become the reason. It was all on him. He stood up slowly and walked to the mirror. His face looked tired. His eyes looked dull. But there was something else. Something small, something alive, a spark, a question. What if I just gave everything for 50 days? What would happen? He didn't know where the number came from, but it felt right. 50 days of focus. 50 days of showing up for himself, not for others, not to prove anything, just for him. He opened a blank notebook that had been sitting in the corner of his desk for months. On the first page, he wrote in big letters, 50 days, 1 goal, full focus. Then he wrote his name and the date. He still didn't have all the answers. He didn't have a plan yet, but he had a starting point, and that was enough. Before going to sleep, he put his phone in a drawer. He set an alarm. He didn't say much. He just whispered to himself, "Let's see what happens when I stop wasting time." He turned off the light and closed his eyes. For the first time in many nights, his heart felt light. He had no idea what the next 50 days would bring, but he was ready to find out. This was the wake-up call, and this time, he was going to answer it. Chapter 2. Create your vision. The next morning, he woke up early. Not by accident. He had set the alarm with purpose. The room was still dark, and the streets outside were quiet. For a moment, he lay still, thinking about the night before. He had made a promise to himself. Now it was time to keep it. He didn't grab his phone. He didn't check messages. He just sat with himself, in the quiet, ready to begin. He made tea and sat at the table with his notebook open. One page was already written. 50 days, 1 goal, full focus. Now he needed to figure out what that goal truly was. What was he chasing? What kind of life did he want? What kind of person did he want to become? He turned off his phone completely and placed it out of reach. No notifications, no distractions. He knew that deep answers don't come from outside. They come from within. So, he gave himself the space to reflect. For the next few hours, he simply sat in silence, writing thoughts, ideas, questions. It was harder than he expected. His mind wandered. His body wanted to move. But he stayed with it. Slowly, the answers started to appear. He saw a version of himself that felt strong and free. He imagined waking up with energy, working on something he loved, having confidence, helping others, and living with peace. It felt clear and bright, like a vision that had always been there, waiting. He realized he didn't need 10 goals. He needed one goal that could lead everything else. He chose it carefully, something meaningful, something that scared him a little, but also excited him deeply. Then he broke that big dream into smaller parts. What would he need to learn? What habits would support it? What actions could he take each day? He drew a simple 50-day plan on paper. It wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. He added checkpoints along the way, small wins to track his progress and keep his mind focused. He wrote down tools he might need: time, discipline, healthy routines, a strong reason why. Then he wrote something at the bottom of the page: "Even if I fall off track, I will reset and keep going." He looked at the plan, then looked in the mirror. Something felt different already. He was no longer guessing his way through life. He was building a path, step by step, day by day. That morning, with no noise, no phone, and no outside voices, he created something powerful, a clear vision. And with that vision, the future didn't feel so far away anymore. It felt possible. Chapter 3. Clean the noise. With his vision clear and his goal set, the next step felt natural. He looked at how he spent his time, and the truth was uncomfortable. Too many hours lost to scrolling, too many nights staying up for no reason, too many conversations that drained his energy instead of building him up. His day was full of noise, not progress. He knew if he wanted to grow, something had to change. He began by deleting a few apps from his phone. Not forever, just for now. Instagram, TikTok, and even some group chats were paused. At first it felt strange. His fingers still reached for the screen without thinking. But each time he stopped himself, he felt a little more in control. Without constant updates and messages, his mind became quieter. He also stopped saying yes to every plan. No more late-night hangouts just to avoid being alone. No more small talk with people who didn't support his journey. It was hard at first. Some friends didn't understand. Some even laughed or got upset. But he reminded himself, this wasn't about them. It was about building the life he wanted. He cleaned his room, cleared his desk, donated things he didn't use. He created space, not just in his environment, but in his mind. For the first time in a long time, he had room to think, reflect, and focus. At times, he felt lonely. The silence was unfamiliar. But in that silence, he started to hear something better, his own thoughts. He began to enjoy being alone. He wrote more. He moved slower. He felt lighter. Little by little, the fog began to lift. Without the noise, his vision became sharper. His focus became stronger. And deep inside, he learned a powerful truth. To grow, you must protect your energy. Not everyone gets a seat at your table. Not everything deserves your attention. By removing what didn't matter, he made space for what did. And in that space, real change began. Chapter 4. Invest in yourself. As the noise faded, he began to see his life more clearly. For the first time, he looked closely at where his money was going. Every week, small things added up. Snacks he didn't need, clothes he didn't wear, apps he never used, and online deals he bought out of boredom. At first, it didn't seem like much. But when he added it all, it shocked him. He wasn't just wasting time. He was wasting energy, space, and money on things that didn't help him grow. So he made a new promise. From now on, I will only spend money on things that build me. That one decision changed everything. He started with a simple upgrade, his body. He bought a set of gym clothes that made him feel strong and confident, not expensive, but comfortable and useful. He found a nearby gym with a quiet corner where he could train in peace. It became his new place, a space to work on himself day by day. Next, he bought a good notebook. Not just to write goals or tasks, but to journal his thoughts, track his progress, and reflect every night. Each page became a mirror, showing him who he was and who he was becoming. He also began building a small library. He picked up books on growth, habits, money, focus, and even fiction to relax his mind. At night, instead of looking at his phone, he read 10 pages. Those pages changed how he thought, little by little. Then he focused on his health. He started buying better food, simple, clean, and full of energy. No more skipping meals or eating whatever was cheap and fast. He learned to cook basic meals. He drank more water. He felt better in his body. Finally, he fixed his sleep. No more lying in bed at 2 a.m., watching videos that taught him nothing. He bought a soft pillow, a sleep mask, and even an alarm clock so he didn't have to use his phone in bed. Slowly, his sleep became deeper, and his mornings became brighter. Each small change didn't feel like much in the moment, but over time, they built something strong. He realized that real growth doesn't come from big talk or fancy words. It comes from small, smart choices repeated every day. Most of all, he learned one simple truth. You are your best investment. The money you spend on your body, your mind, and your peace will always return to you in success, strength, and self-respect. He looked at his journal one night and wrote, "Everything I used to waste, I now use to grow." And that made all the difference. Chapter 5. Set the daily rules. Now that his goal was clear and his life was getting cleaner, he knew it was time to add structure. Motivation had helped him begin, but motivation alone would not carry him through 50 days. What he needed now was discipline, a system to follow every day, even when he didn't feel like it. So he sat down with his journal and began writing a list. It wasn't long, it wasn't complicated, but it had to be clear and strong. These would be his 7 rules, simple daily habits to build a better version of himself, step by step. Rule 1. Wake up before 8 a.m. No more sleeping in, no more lazy mornings. He knew that how you start your day often decides how you finish it. Waking up early gave him time to think, move, and prepare without rush. It made him feel in control. Rule 2. No screens in the morning. The first hour of his day would be just for him. No messages, no news, no scrolling. Just silence, breath, and movement. Instead of letting the world shout at him first thing, he chose peace. It made his mornings feel calm and focused. Rule 3. 1 hour of exercise every day. Not to become perfect, but to become powerful. Movement was no longer a punishment. It was his gift to himself. Sometimes he lifted weights, sometimes he ran, sometimes he did simple stretching at home. But every day he moved, and every time he did, his energy grew. Rule 4. Read 10 pages. Books had become his quiet teachers. They showed him new ideas, helped him solve problems, and made him feel less alone. 10 pages didn't take long, but the effect lasted all day. Rule 5. Practice one skill for 1 hour. It could be anything that helped his future. Some days it was writing. Some days it was learning something online. Some days it was working on a project. The goal was simple: get better every day. 1 hour of focused learning every day adds up. And in time, it makes you powerful. Rule 6. Eat clean and stay hydrated. He had already started eating better, but now he made it part of his daily rules. No skipping meals, no junk just because it was easy. He kept a water bottle close and made sure his body had what it needed to feel strong. Rule 7. Journal every night. This was his time to check in, to be honest. What went well? What didn't? What can improve tomorrow? His journal was not about being perfect. It was about being real. Even on bad days he would write, especially on bad days. He looked at the list. 7 rules. Not easy, but clear. He told himself, follow these for 50 days. No more waiting. No more hoping. Just do it. He knew he would not be perfect. There would be days when he missed one. There would be moments when he felt weak. But he made a new rule for that too. If he failed, he would reset. No shame, no giving up, only learning, only trying again. He didn't need to impress anyone. He didn't need to show the world what he was doing. This journey was private, personal. For the first time in a long time, he was keeping a promise to himself, and that felt more powerful than anything. He closed his journal, placed it on his desk, and whispered, "Let's go." And with that, the rules were set. The real journey had begun. Chapter 6. The Struggle Days. The first few days felt good. He was excited, focused, and proud of himself. Waking up early, working out, reading, and journaling felt like small victories. He walked with more energy, spoke with more confidence, and slept with peace. But as the days passed, things started to change. The excitement began to fade. The routines started to feel harder. Some mornings felt heavy. His eyes didn't want to open. His body didn't want to move. The cold air made it easy to stay in bed. The warm blanket whispered, "Just 5 more minutes." On some days, he listened to that whisper. He woke up late and missed his morning routine. On other days, he skipped the gym. His legs were tired. His back hurt. His motivation was low, and on certain nights, he didn't even open his journal. He told himself, "I'll write tomorrow." But the guilt followed him. He also began to face doubts. Quiet thoughts entered his mind. "You're not good enough. Why are you doing this? Does it even matter?" These thoughts were soft, but strong. They came during his weakest moments, when he was tired, when no one was watching, when progress felt invisible. He wanted to quit. Not because he didn't care, but because he was scared. He wasn't changing fast enough. He felt behind again. But in these hard moments, something stronger appeared, his why. He opened his notebook and read his words from day one. He saw his vision. He remembered the boy who sat in silence, who promised himself a better life, who wrote 50 days. One goal, full focus. He felt that fire again, not loud, but alive, and that was enough to get up. He started again. He didn't wait for Monday. He didn't wait for motivation. He just got up, stretched, and began moving. On days when his workout felt too hard, he did half. On nights when he didn't want to journal, he wrote one honest sentence. When he missed a rule, he didn't give up. He reset. These were the struggle days. The days that tested his heart, not just his habits. They taught him something important. Discipline matters more than mood. Anyone can work hard when they feel good, but real growth comes when you show up tired, when you show up sad, when you show up unsure, and still give your best. He learned that the road to success is not a straight line. It has dips, turns, and dark corners. But those hard days, the days when quitting seems easier, are the days that shape you the most. They build grit. They build character. They build the quiet kind of strength that lasts. And so, every time he fell, he got back up. Not because it was easy, but because he had made a promise to himself. And for the first time in his life, he was learning how to keep it. Chapter 7. The Quiet Growth. By day 30, something began to shift. It didn't happen all at once. There was no loud moment, no big event. It was quiet. But it was real. Each morning, he now woke up without the alarm. His body had learned the rhythm. The struggle he once felt getting out of bed had faded. He didn't scroll through his phone or waste time deciding what to do. He already knew. Wake up, breathe, move, focus. It had become part of him. He looked in the mirror and noticed small changes. His face looked fresher. His eyes looked calmer. His body felt stronger. His clothes fit a little better. He had more energy, and he didn't feel tired all the time. But more than his body, It was his mind that had changed. He didn't panic in silence anymore. He didn't fear being alone. He used that quiet time to think, to plan, to build. His journal was half filled now, pages of thoughts, lessons, and honest reflections. Some pages were messy, some were deep. But they were all his. A record of who he used to be and who he was becoming. He also started to notice his habits. The good ones were sticking. Drinking water felt automatic. Reaching for a book instead of a screen became normal. Exercise wasn't a task anymore. It was a need. On the days he missed it, his body reminded him. And the best part? He didn't have to fight with himself so much. The voices of doubt had become quieter. The fire of belief had become stronger. He stopped looking at other people's lives. Their wins didn't make him feel small anymore. He was building his own path. It might be slow, it might be quiet, but it was real. His vision was clear, and his pace was steady. One evening, he sat under the sky, alone with his thoughts. The city lights blinked in the distance. Life around him looked the same. The world hadn't changed, but he had. He smiled to himself, not because he had arrived, but because he was no longer lost. The first 30 days had tested him. Some days were full of effort. Others were full of failure, but each day had taught him something. And now, as he looked forward to the last 20 days, he didn't feel pressure. He felt power. Quiet, steady, unshakable power. This wasn't the end of a journey. It was just the beginning. Because the biggest growth doesn't come from loud victories. It comes from quiet changes, day by day, choice by choice, step by step. Chapter 8. Return with focus. By now, the noise was no longer in control. He had spent weeks building discipline, clearing his mind and shaping his habits. He was no longer hiding from the world. He was ready to return to it. But this time, on his terms. The old version of him used to say yes to everything. Yes to distractions. Yes to late nights. Yes to people who didn't care about his growth. But the new him had learned something powerful. Saying no is not rude, it's necessary. He started reconnecting with old friends and family. But he listened more closely now. He noticed who made him feel lighter and who drained his energy. He didn't join every chat, every party, or every trend. He didn't feel the need to explain or apologize. He simply said, "No, thank you," and moved on. His time was valuable, and he finally treated it that way. The world around him still moved fast. Busy streets, constant updates, endless distractions. But he didn't get pulled in anymore. He had found peace, and he chose to protect it. He still used social media, but only for things that inspired or educated him. He still went out, but only when it added something good to his life. He was not running away from the world. He was moving through it with focus. His choices became sharper. He knew what mattered. He no longer chased comfort. He chased growth. When things got difficult, he didn't quit. He leaned in. He remembered the hard days, the mornings he didn't want to wake up, the nights he felt alone, the voices that told him to give up. And yet, here he was, stronger, clearer, better. One morning, he looked in the mirror and didn't just see change, he saw purpose. The boy who once felt lost had become a young man who walked with intention. He wasn't perfect. He didn't have all the answers. But he knew where he was going, and he knew who he was becoming. And as he stepped back into the world, one thing was certain. The old version of him was gone. In its place stood someone who had faced himself, fought for his future, and learned to lead with focus. Chapter 9. Take the Leap. After weeks of planning, growing, and learning, the moment had finally arrived. The time for preparation was over. Now, it was time to act. He stood at the edge of a new chapter, feeling both excitement and fear. His heart raced, his hands trembled, but he knew he could not stay where he was any longer. This was the moment to take the leap. He applied for that job he had been dreaming about, the one that seemed too big, too hard, too far away before. But now, he believed he was ready. He sent the application, even though a voice inside whispered, "What if they say no?" He ignored the doubt and pressed send. It was the first step. Next, he started the project he had planned for months. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. There were challenges, questions, and moments of frustration, but he showed up every day. He worked with focus and heart. Each small step moved him closer to his dream. He also learned to speak up. Before, he stayed silent, afraid of judgment or failure, but now he found his voice. He shared his ideas with friends, mentors, and even strangers. He listened, learned, and grew stronger. Speaking up was not easy, but it was necessary. Every day he felt fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of losing what little he had. But he did it anyway. Because he understood an important truth. Real change does not come without courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in spite of fear. He took risks, made mistakes, and learned. The path was not smooth, but it was his. Each action built momentum. Each small victory gave him more confidence. He saw that courage was like a muscle. The more he used it, the stronger it became. And so, with a pounding heart and a quiet mind, he leapt. He stepped forward into his future. Not because he was fearless, but because he was determined. Because he knew that waiting forever was not an option. Because real change, real success, needs courage. Chapter 10, 50 days later. The 50 days had come and gone faster than he expected. Each morning, each choice, each struggle had built toward this moment. Now, as he sat quietly in his room, he looked back on the journey. He smiled, not because he was perfect or because everything had changed overnight, but because he had given those 50 days his full heart and soul. That was enough. He thought about all the times he wanted to quit, the days he missed his goals, and the nights he doubted himself. Yet, here he was, stronger, sharper, and more alive than before. He realized something powerful. By working hard and focusing for just 50 days, he had moved ahead, as if he had lived a whole year of growth and change. He was truly 12 months ahead of where he might have been if he stayed stuck. He wasn't finished. This was not the end of his journey. It was only the beginning. The habits he had formed, the discipline he had built, and the courage he had found were now part of who he was. He felt more confident in facing the future because he knew he could rely on himself. The old version of him, the one who waited, doubted, and lost time, was gone. He took a deep breath and whispered, "I'm not perfect, but I am focused. I'm not flawless, but I am disciplined. And I am alive. I am moving forward, and I'm never going back." The path ahead was still long and full of challenges, but he no longer feared the unknown. He had learned that great things take time, and sometimes all it takes is just 50 days of hard work to change your life forever. With a smile on his face and hope in his heart, He stood up, ready to continue. This new life was his to create, and this time, he knew he would not stop until he reached his dreams. You've just finished a powerful story, one that wasn't only about learning English, but about learning how to change your life. Through simple words and clear sentences, you practiced reading, listening, and thinking in English. But more than that, you felt something real. You saw how just 50 days of hard work, focus, and discipline can take you far, 12 months ahead of where you are now. This story is a reminder. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Start with what you have. Start with one step,